Hi, welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. You know, the last video I kind of blurred the two between your school bags, and I started to talk a bit about rights. I want to talk more about rights. So let's get my CPAP machine still blowing. There we go. First of all, general rights for, I don't care if you're a school kid, you're at work, you have a right to treat your diabetes. Whether you're a kindergarten son or daughter in kindergarten, say, "Excuse me, Mr. Stewart, my blood sugar's low," to doing a test in the middle of class, doing an injection in the middle of class. Now, it's hoped that as you grow up,
vegetable that's very high in fiber and low carb is
there. Sorry. You want to ensure that you have the rights to succeed. Now, an employer can't use your diabetes against you. "Oh no, we can't hire you because you're a diabetic." That's garbage. You have a right to pursue any career you want to, with stipulations. I mean, obviously, you're not going to drive a bus where other people's lives are at risk if you have a low blood sugar. You're not going to fly an airplane. If you have a severe low, or have lows during the day, you have a right to go test. I can remember when I was starting out, my first job, and I had an awesome manager. You know, he really didn't have any problems with me being a diabetic. After that, I had a few managers who, "Oh no, you have to stay out there all day, and if you're, if you have a low, oh well." You know, he'd be on the phone in the back all day, and I can remember calling him out and saying, "I need to test, I'm low, I don't feel well." And I was told, "Oh, just go back out, I'll be out in a moment." The moment ended up to be half an hour. So I knew I was low, and I just went to the sandwich case, got a sandwich out, and he came out, and he really started talking down to me. "Well, you know, you didn't pay for that, right?" And I said, "Well, let me go get my wallet." "No, you're on duty." "Well, you did give me time to do a test, get my wallet, and buy stuff." Don't let people try to pigeonhole you into, "Oh no, you have to conform." Now, years later, and I'll say the name of the company, I work in BC, you'll know this, Save On Foods. And while the union was not the greatest, the company was. And there was a big thing that I was a cashier or service desk, and you weren't allowed to have bags. You weren't allowed to have purses and everything in your cash area, in anywhere where cash was handled. Gee, I wonder why. However, I was allowed to have a bag, but in it there was medical supplies, there was insulin, there was, I think I kept like $5 in there. But the management all knew it was there. They could take a look if I had like $50 in there. My wallet and anything else was kept in the locker. But I was allowed to be able to go test. If I had to change a site, I was able to. I was given the time. And whether you're high school, elementary school, at work, if you're low, you need to be able to say, hey, I need a moment. And you don't need to be pulled into the manager's office and get written up. I can remember I had this manager who did not like the fact I was diabetic. And he kept writing me up. It was the same manager, by the way, in the earlier story. He would write me up for having to leave the cash area because I had to go take a shot. And I think he did like 4 of these things, different reasons. And he sent them in to the office. And the office turned around and said, what the hell is this? You can't write it. You can't sort of have an employee and just because, let's say, they're sort of black, Afro-Canadian. I'm sorry if I've used the wrong term there. I apologize. It's not my intent. But you can't write them up for being a darker-skinned individual. That's probably a better way of saying it, isn't it? And you can't sort of, you have to have a bleach bath every day. You can't, you're not doing your job because you're black. Everyone would be in complete craziness over this. Diabetes is the same. There's nothing I can physically do to get me from stop having lows, from stop having highs. My body is just like that. And I don't care if you're a liable diabetic or not. You have a right to pursue your life. That means going after a job you want. If you want to go to school, you can go to school. Sometimes we need a little help along the way. I've always said adults who have type 1 diabetes seem to have a little chip sometimes on their shoulders. And, I don't want them to know I'm a diabetic. Well, that's fine, but someone at your work needs to know that you're a type 1 diabetic. Come on. Why not? in case of emergency, they can deal with things. And you need to worry that you're doing your job right. And if that means sometimes you step away to take care of you, that's the most important thing. And don't let anyone tell you, oh, you can't have a break now. You've got to wait another hour before you have your break. And I can remember, and this was a one-off type thing, where we were kind of just into shift change, and it was time for, I think, was it by half an hour break? And we were super swamped, and he said, can you hold off? I think it was another half an hour before your break. And I was fine, like blood sugar wise, I knew I was fine. I said, okay. And people came in, and when shift change came, I was allowed to go and have my break. I was actually given extra time. But if I had to go give a shot, a manager, they'd call a manager in, and it was a very positive. That's the type of place you want to work. If any manager, owner, boss, whatever it is, tells you you don't have a right to deal with yourself, then look for another job. Go and get labor relations involved. Your human resources department. You have a right to live. You didn't ask to become a type 1 diabetic. It's not like, I will say, it's not like type 2, where you are able to maybe lose weight and your diabetes will disappear. We're stuck with type 1 diabetes. So expect any type 1 diabetic to stand up to their rights. And HR and bosses should be able to say, no, he could go deal with things. Or like it was that story I said earlier, I was eating a sandwich. Well, yes, I'll pay for it later, but my blood sugar was low, you were in the office, you wouldn't come out to help. There was a time I also passed out when I was working gas at a convenience store. And I was out serving customers, and I knew my blood sugar was dropping. And I couldn't see right. I couldn't do credit cards. And I went in. I said, you gotta get the other lady working. You gotta get somebody out there. And only when I really passed out did the assistant manager go out and run gas. And I was taken away in an ambulance. And you know what? That should not have happened. And at that point, I didn't know enough to stand up for my rights. I was kind of put, oh well, you know, you really should have done better. Well, I tried telling some, oh well, I'm busy, I'm doing cash, whatever. They couldn't go out and do something. You know, grab the cash, put it in the safe, and get out and help. You know, someone came in and passed out for, I don't know, they hadn't eaten in a while. There's a lot more sympathy. And just so you know, I'm sure it's a very easy thing to know, that Slurpees are damn good for bringing up the blood sugar. It's just all that condensed sugar. Just be careful of the brain freeze. And just a little aside, if you get a brain freeze, you can see there, put your tongue on the roof of your mouth. It just kind of warms up and it stops the brain freeze. Anyway, stand up for yourself. Don't let anyone in any position over you tell you that you can't deal with your blood sugars. And there are times when we are sick and we can't come into work. They don't have a right under labor standards to say you have to show up, especially if you have type 1 diabetes. Take care of yourself, take care of your rights. Never forget how important you are. Don't let diabetes control you. You control your diabetes, and that includes at work. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye now.